Maddie left. I'm cursing. Where's Nikki? Did Nikki? Oh, there you are. Oh, good. Okay. I
I'm
don't
still
want her
here,
to get.
and I wanted to let them know that Maddie left, so you can still smoke. She
Okay.
goes and runs off and plays in her room.
Yeah, we all smoke, we all eat, we all do our thing, so it's comfy. Nikki, did you have any favorite quotes or any favorite
I
moments?
I did not get a chance to finish it because this week has been crazy busy with appointments, but I
I
still needed a
know.
chance to see all your beautiful faces.
Yes, of course. That's why, and this is like an educational moment, so we're all learning here. Maggie, please share away.
Yeah. Okay. Can I share two? Because I had one from last week too.
Yes,
Um,
I said share it from any book part of the book because we
okay.
didn't get to do it.
So my one for last week was from one of Eldridge Cleaver's speeches when he's talking about it's my belief that Ronald Reagan is a pussy, a punk, a sissy, a coward, and I challenge him to a duel. I challenge the punk to a duel to the death, and he can choose his own weapon. It could be a baseball bat, a gun, a knife, or a marshmallow. I'll beat him to death with a marshmallow. I just, I loved I'll beat you to death with marshmallow. Like,
Yes,
I love that. That idea, like you can pick whatever you want, but I'm going to kill you regardless. Um, I'm done.
I love that about you, and I'm trying to pick up on that energy. So thank you.
And then the one from this week was from the chapter about Fred Hampton when he's talking about forming support structures with white allies. And he says, we're going to fight racism, not with racism, but with solidarity. We're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We're not going to fight reactionary pigs with any reaction on our part. We're going to fight their reaction with all of us get together and have an international proletariat revolution.
Mm, yeah, 100%. I get goosebumps. And I know Cicely posted a meme about like all these little penguins falling off, like, because of this book. But for me personally, it's my favorite book we've ever done, but I like to learn. So I learned so much in this book that I had no idea about. And like there's so many quotes and things I could go on, but I'm gonna go on to Laura. Did you have anything? Oh, look, there's Cicely. Speaking of the devil, I swear I evoke her. Did you have any favorite quotes?
I never made it past chapter one,
Yes, I
so
know. It was
no,
difficult
I do not. But I am still here to talk and engage. So,
and absorbed. Yes,
yep.
perfect. Good evening, Cicely. It is so good to see you. You won the wheel spin for the Black History. I told them I owe so many little things and I have to send them all at once. If you want it to be book Black History related goodie, you let me know in the DMs. Jameson, how about you? Did you have any favorite quotes?
Yeah, I don't know if favorite is the right word, but like there were things that jumped out at me, I think, because I just didn't realize that those were things that, I don't know, things that were happening, I guess. But I did like the one that said it said rebellion reemerged as a political avenue precisely because of the limitations of the civil rights victories. These victories left untouched the economic and material dimensions of Black subordination. Um, and then there's another, it's a really long quote, but it kind of relates to that. He's talking about how there are more people under, see, I didn't write down the whole thing. Now I'm confused. There are
That's
more
okay.
people, there are more Black people under carceral control today than there were slaves in 1850. By 2000, the median white family owned 10 times the assets of the median Black family. Today, a decade and a half later, the median white family owns almost 20 times the assets of the median Black family. And I think those were just things that
No,
I didn't realize.
me either. I feel sort of bad and ignorant because I've been fighting the good fight for like Black injustices for so long, like since high school, and I never delved into like the history and the demise of the Black Panthers and like how that I feel like silly that I didn't know so many of these things. So it's really amazing that I got to learn so much. Even though I did have to read it twice to like retain it, I still am glad I did. How about you, Mac? I know you read it, and wanted to hear your thoughts. Anything that moved you?
Definitely. And I was only raising my hand to say that you shouldn't feel bad. I put it in the chat. It's on our public schools to do better teaching us history too. We can't go back and delve into every single thing when they want us to believe that everything that happened before the nation was even formed is super more important than anything that happened closer to us. So sorry to veer off topic, but I wrote down my
No, that's
quote
perfect. We need to know
because
that. It's
I mean,
important.
because again, I didn't know a lot of this stuff either, but none of us did because we didn't live
Mhm.
in that history time. And or if we did, we were children and we weren't taught it well. So, anyway, this is what I wrote down. I didn't realize they were so involved with going over to Vietnam and trying to get support. So, here's my quote. The party's claim to be the vanguard of the revolution was not merely a rhetorical flourish. It was a strategic assertion that their actions could illuminate the path for others to follow. So, and there was another one back about Vietnam, but I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, I just found that interesting that they were such a great, like, empowering party for oppressed people that others were like, yes, let's follow this model.
Yeah, I looked into that too, and I think that's so interesting. So when I went delving, the time of Vietnam and like everybody protesting the war, the Black Panthers, and then 2 years later is when the Stonewall riot started after the Black Panthers had started, and Marsha P. Johnson was the one to throw the first brick, and she was an ally of the Black Panthers. She wasn't in it, but I find that the time, for whatever reason, did not click for me until I started really looking into affiliations that were inspired by them. Karen, did you have any?
Actually, I don't. I'm
Mhm.
still on chapter 7.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't have any quotes. So
that's
I'll pass.
totally okay. So, the speed in which it's consumed and retaining, that's why I had to go back and read it a second time because the first time I'm like, whoa, there's a whole bunch of content I missed. So I'm glad you're taking your time with it. Even if it ends up just being like a snack book and you read a chapter a week or whatever, as long as you get something out of it, or if you have to put it down, still, it's great. Gwen, how about you? Did you have anything that really stood out to you? Gwen, may you be? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my mute button wasn't working.
Okay.
I did the audiobook and I did it while I was driving the other night.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not write down any quotes.
That's okay.
But yeah, so I'm gonna pass on this one.
Oh, that's totally fine. How about you, Christine?
I also listened to it and
Mm-hmm.
I found a lot of it to be super interesting. I didn't write down any particular quotes, but I do remember the sense of relief that I felt when it came to a conclusion. Um, just simply because it was so heavy and difficult material. But it was interesting to me too that a lot of the stuff was happening like this isn't really a quote, but like the way that things fell apart so fast at the end, like really surprised me. And that was right before I was born. I was born in 72. So
Okay.
it was just kind of mind blowing to me that like they had taken so many hits, they'd lost so many people and they really started gaining momentum and then all it just like fell apart. I was just kind of flabbergasted by that.
Yes, very, very interesting. Something that also, I was born in 78. And it was like that. The 80s were such a weird, blissful time that that stuff wasn't on my radar until the 90s when I became a teenager. And I don't think I knew to research as much as I could. And bringing it to the forefront now, it's like, oh my God, how am I just learning this at almost 50? Cicely, this was your chosen book, and I know you're not feeling well. So if you would love to share, that'd be great. But if not, that's okay. Uh-oh, you froze, or I froze.
This would take me out, but I'm okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So you're
So
okay.
I'm okay enough. I didn't do a quote because I did the audiobook. Um, but I have a lot of thought.
Yes, yes, please. I did read your comment, your post about the age of these people.
Yeah.
And it struck me too, like they were seriously young, and I talked to you about it. I'm like, I think I was more fearless then, but still the wisdom and the
I
ability to
was
form something.
stupid. I was so stupid when I was
Same.
young. Like, not like I act like a freaking genius out here in the world now, but
Right.
um I would not have been capable of being that organized at that age or
No.
of organizing anyone else in a functional way. Like I could organize a brawl.
You know,
And
that was where I was coming from too. Like I could
oh
barely get
man,
myself together, yet alone build like an literally like an entire, community. Um,
I had like projects even when I was young, but that's just me organizing myself on my timeline to do what I want, and that's real different than getting a bunch of people and a bunch of personalities to like work together for a common goal is really friggin' hard.
we've
And
tried
also just
now, us, like, Jameson, Maggie, you, and me. I mean, I know Holly, we've tried to make a community. It's difficult.
do stuff. I do stuff that people don't see.
Mhm.
Um and I do little stuff. I don't That's my jam. But I think there's also like as a mom, like Fred Hampton was just barely older than my youngest child when he died. So that was just it provides that context for me and made me think about like his mom
Oh my gosh, it tore me apart.
and how incredibly difficult that would have been, just the fear before and after.
To tie that
Um,
in to today, when I read it, I was literally like bawling, thinking about what happened with George Floyd's mom when she watched the video of him screaming and crying for her.
I didn't watch the video. I don't want. I've watched one of those types of videos, and I was not on purpose. I
Yeah,
don't watch them.
it's horrifying. And then thinking about her and seeing the brutality and him literally screaming out for her, reading that part, I was just like, oh my God, they didn't have phones to record stuff like this then. You know what I mean? Like the grief would have been insurmountable and the fear of it, but like seeing it live like that would have I don't think I would ever recover, ever.
I think
And
if my memory served me, I think George Floyd's mom had already passed.
yeah, I think she had
Is,
died.
is that right? Why was he crying?
Yeah, she
Maybe he knew
was.
he was dying. Maybe that's why he was
He
crying
knew
for
he
her.
was dying. He was crying for her.
Oh my
It
God.
makes it even more painful.
Oh,
I don't know. There's a lot of things with this book too, and I think at the end it for me kind of highlighted how easy it is for shit to fall apart.
hmm
Um,
We're going to cover that. Thank you for bringing that
so
up. That's one of the
but
big things.
there's a lot of like really interesting individuals that like while I know this was a hard book for a lot of people, in a way I wish it was longer
Yes,
because I would have liked to explore certain people's roles and things more
I have done
and
that
just kind of
on my own time with the resources that Maggie provided. A lot of podcasts that I've listened to have helped me delve into the characters and well, they're not really the people, and learn about them more because there was so much I didn't know. And for me, I can't help it. My curiosity gets, so Maggie did give us a plethora of
Yeah.
information. I didn't want to take it too far because so many people just can't read it and so they can't experience it. But also, like, if you like podcasts, if you like stuff like that stuff is available and it's really interesting and informative, and some of it's funny. Like, some of the things that these people say are so poignant and on point. I was like, I don't know how Maggie found these, but they're great. But yes, I agree. Had it had just been me, you, Kim, Maggie, and Jameson, we probably would have taken this for 6 weeks because that's how much information is here.
I think too, though, I think some of it, I grew up in a very liberal household in a liberal area, like in
Yeah,
a real blue state. So, um,
that's how I was raised
some
too.
of this stuff, I'm like, well, yeah, that's what you do. Like, that's, of course, that's what you do. And then I have to remember, like, my norm is not necessarily the norm, which has really been highlighted to me in some of the places that we've lived, Ohio being one of them. Ohio and Georgia have been enlightening experiences for me.
Yeah, I was just talking to Laura yesterday about how I feel like my soul belongs west and that if I ever move, I'm going to have to go west. Ohio is just not the right fit for my brain. I don't know why my family landed here. They're from the South. So anyway, I get that misfit feeling in every way. This stuff, sex, polyamory, I'm always strange and unusual. You know that. We all took that stupid book quiz and I was the only one that got the weird book. Like, there's something wrong with me. But I do appreciate the fact that you do admit that, like, your upbringing was similar to mine. Like, this was the norm for me, but a lot of people, they just cannot consume this kind of text. And I wish that's why we're going to move on to a Black author. But I wanted to ask a question, and it was kind of something that you brought up, and we're going to start back with you and then go back around. How did reading about the Panthers' struggles, their contradictions, and humanity change the way you see people for fighting for justice today? Like, the problems that we're encountering now, as far as like trying to build community and like collaborate on making a difference. Even Anana right now hasn't been able to participate in book club because they're out fighting ICE like all the time. So like, I don't know if that's bad. Is that bad to say, Maggie? I'm sorry. You giggled. They've been so vocal about it on their Facebook. I hope that's okay. But I guess I should clarify. Not fighting, protesting. But like, hi, Brenna. Good evening. Leslie, so like, what are your feelings about as they started to crumble? Because that's what it felt like to me. Where do you see that with problems like today, like cultivating groups and communication and giving grace to people who like make mistakes?
It's the same. I mean, that part to me seems the same. Um, and I think that I think the problems that they were experiencing were human problems more than anything else, where
Hmm.
you get big personalities and big ideas, and sometimes everybody wants to be in charge. Um, and you still see that in a lot of places. Like, I am a good soldier. I do not want to be the general.
No, I'm a good
I
gentleman.
will lead us straight to hell. We will all be on fire in 20 minutes. So, like,
Because that's why I get along so well.
it'll be fun.
You know, I'm
But
like, we're doing this, and you're like, okay, I'm bringing the shovel and the pitchfork.
I think that you see that a lot where, and the movement grows so quickly that you get a lot of people that aren't really wanting to be part of the movement for the sake of the movement. And I think you see that all over the place now too, where it's like, yes, this is cool. And you get a lot of people that kind of sign up for things that maybe they don't really understand, or that they think, I'm
It's
going to
too
do this, but
much.
I'm going to
It's
change it to fit my thing. And that happens right
all the
now.
time. all
It's
the
just a
time.
person thing. I don't think it's
A purpose
I,
thing. It's more of a personality thing. It's not necessarily subject of the movement, but just getting people to gather and fight for one injustice. However, we have done it. We can do it again. It just, I think we all are so tired. We've
well,
been fighting for
I think we
so
need
long.
to look at what has worked and how things have changed. A
Hmm.
ton has changed since the time period of this book. Like they didn't have the internet.
Nope. Nope. They didn't have the
They
media
didn't have
on
cell
them in the way that
phones.
we do either.
I mean, like there's so many things technology wise and speed of information and
Hmm. We're
um
inundated with it every day, all day long. It's freaking everywhere. And it gets exhausting, and there's so much. I did want to share my favorite quote, and I think it's fitting to this question. It is, the Black Panther is an animal that when it is pressured, it moves back until it is cornered. Then it comes out fighting for life or death. We felt we had been pushed back long enough and that it was time for Negroes to come out and take over. That's how I look at things. Like, I'm calm until I'm not, and when I come out swinging like full force and don't stop. But Brenna, to bring you up to date, we did the wheel spin for which Black history member that we related to, Cicely won. We went over our favorite quotes. I want us to stop here and ask if you had any favorite quotes or favorite moments you wanted to share.
I don't. I have some shame around me not getting as far in this book as I would have
There's
liked.
no
And it
judgment.
really it isn't even this, but I haven't read as much of anything this week. I think life's just been kind of busy and
Yes.
it's been hard for me to get some time in. So I can't even say that I have a favorite quote. I feel like I've slacked this week.
No, 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 no. No judgment. Safe space. Lots of people, more majority is on your end of it. So it's okay. Totally okay.
Okay.
I'll come to you and ask my next question. And just know none of this is like quiz about the book. This is just about like how that content relates to today or to you.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, I wanted to know, what does Black Against Empire suggest about the tension between collective movement goals and individual dreams or flaws? Where do you see that tension in your own life or community commitment? So even like for you, I want to bring it to as a woman who was late in life diagnosed with ADHD, and how controversial that is and how dismissed it is. Because they just recently, like within the last 6 to 7 years, realized that like a whole bunch of women got missed on this. And trying to form community, find friends, have people understand you, and communicate as somebody who is at that like marginalized community, is
Hmm.
like neurodivergent. There were problems in communications with like the Black Panthers. And like, do you
Hmm.
ever experience that yourself? Like, do you ever feel like I'm screaming and I'm trying to be heard, but like nobody understands?
Absolutely. I think in a lot of areas of life too, but I mean, yeah, that's a good example because I was pretty much advocating for myself, like with doctors and professionals. I'm like, man, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
something's off, something's wrong. Nobody was hearing me out for the longest time. And I'm thankful that isn't my reality now. But I'm even advocating like for my 10-year-old daughter now too. Like she has some signs of ADHD as well. I've thought that for a long time.
It's
And her
relatable
teachers,
because
it is, our teachers are
they
always
were
like,
invalidated and so were you.
exactly, exactly, and so like trying to advocate for that. And it's the same way, like in college, I was part of a group. It was like the Multicultural Student Services office. And I worked under this remarkable Black woman named Kathy. I need to reach out to her, to be honest with you. I'm having some conviction because I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she was a big part of my life for a long time and mentored me through a lot of, knowledge and things that I just didn't understand as a white person with privilege. at the time, especially I was young, so I was still
Hmm.
naive to a lot of the things of the world, and all that good stuff. And so like she really guided me in that, and I got really involved like on campus and
Oh,
like
yeah.
really advocating for a lot of things, but it was a lot of like, hey, this is going on, please hear me, and everyone just being like, turning a blind eye to it. It absolutely happens, today as well, for
Oh, it
sure.
happens all the time. It happened with this book. I mean, there's so many people that are like, this is just not fun to read. It's too hard. I can't handle it. And that's fine. That's valid. But it does happen. And the fact that we like power through or even just to listen is says a lot about who we are as people. So I just wanted to bring that up in the forefront and relate it to you. Christine, the question that I picked for you was talking about the cost of resistance. So how did you react emotionally, or how do you react emotionally today to learning about the personal costs? So like people who get imprisoned, especially with like ICE and the stuff that happened with the Black Panthers, FBI repression, internal conflict on the lives of individuals in the Panthers and their families. And then what happens to people today? For example, you had shared last week that you had helped somebody who was in a DV situation. And like the way that that can shift very quickly from abuser to abusee and like that person get in trouble. So like just standing up and resisting something can be make you very vulnerable. Did that shift the way that you think about sacrifice for like social change and like the involvement in it?
Wow, that's a big question, Billy.
Mhm. It's a big cost. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think about my friend that I talked about last week, and I think about the people that, the characters in the not the characters in the book, but the people that were being written about. They were in survival mode.
Hmm.
They were not in, any place in their life that they were coasting or able to enjoy the scenery or enjoy their children, playing with their children. Like they were in straight survival mode. And
Hmm.
then their lives so often were either cut short and they were no longer on the planet,
Hmm.
or they were imprisoned, or they, went into hiding. There were so many people that went into exile, like to get away from everything. I
Hmm.
can't imagine like the pressure that they experienced, and just like the moms not being able to enjoy their small kids
Yeah.
and play with their small kids, like that just breaks my heart.
It's daunting. It's a lot to consume. And I know from experience, my best friend at the time was she went against two large white male police officers, and she's 4'11", but she thinks she's 6'10" and bulletproof, and she climbed them like a tree, and she was arrested and harmed so badly by being stood on. Her face was stood on by a boot, and now she's like half blind in her left eye. She
Oh
did
my
win a
God.
court case and got enough money to buy a house and like, but watching that happen to her, I really realized there is a cost here. There is
Oh yeah.
like consequences. It went really well for her, but like she can't see out of her left eye appropriately ever again.
Right.
And I was just curious what your thoughts were and how that made you feel. When are you available? I hear footsteps.
I'm back.
Oh, good. Okay. We have puppies and they're needy. So my question for you, personally, has this book challenged or confirmed your assumptions about who gets to tell history and whose voices get centered? What stories from your own background feel marginalized or overlooked? So things that you feel like I always felt like, and it's not as pervasive with women, but when I talk about history, I always refer to it as herstory because women point of view has been so like diminished. But you, as a non-binary person, is why I say this for you. What for you has been diminished about your own history like the Black Panthers were. Because, like, look, hardly any of us
Well,
knew any of this. Yeah.
I would say, well, first, this even being taught in college Black history and taking a Black history course, I wasn't taught this. I still was not taught all this. I was taught some, a little bit, but not all this. So they missed even recently. So they still miss the mark still. So we're still missing the mark at the collegiate level. So let's be real about that. So on that level,
Can you share if that was from Columbus State or from Capital or
that
which?
was from Columbus State.
Okay, go on.
So and then second of all, it was an African American history class. And then second of all, with my own representation in history, there is none. There just is none. We are erased
There,
constantly.
wait, there is in Native American literature. You're actually, if non-binary, correct me if I'm wrong.
It's called Twin Spirit.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's the only
That's the only
cultural.
one. Yeah, so they have a representation in their culture, which we talked about in at Capital in my religion class. That I was required to take. We talked about that. So there was that education. However, other than that, um, there really isn't like in history, history books and things like that, any form of representation of non-binary people. It's just not something that's, there may be gay people, there may be lesbians, there may even be books about them, but non-binary is not something that is considered quote unquote new.
You know what is
And it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's really, really not. And I know this applies to Jameson and sometimes Laura even. What is so interesting is when I came out to my grandparents, we were talking about Ellen, and she was on the TV. And as my grandpa was a Native American, and this was before non-binary really became a thing. I was explaining I was boys and girls, and I liked people that were in between that, and I loved androgyny. And he brought up the whole Native American people. That was normal to him because he grew up Native American. It was his normal. See, like for me, it's always been a part of it, but for people who aren't exposed to that, I can imagine the identity crisis you may have had when you realized you didn't identify as either binary.
No, it was so confusing to me for a very long time because I was both. And I think gender fluid is probably more of a accurate statement for me because I go between the genders. But sometimes I'm both, sometimes I'm one, sometimes I'm the other. So I choose to say non-binary.
Are you ever a
Um,
they? Or you ever feel like you're both at the same time out of curiosity?
I'm they most of the time. I'm they 90% of the time. But like 10% of the time I'm either he or she. But 90% of the time I'm they. Which is why I go with non-binary. But when I was younger, I would float in between all of them, and my people would say to me, "Why can't you just make a choice?" Why do you have to do that? And they would criticize me for that.
Oh, I relate. As somebody who is pansexual and polyamorous, I'm constantly told, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you just pick one thing?"
Right.
Thank you for sharing about that, though, because that perspective is somebody, in my opinion, right now, non-binary people are one of the most under talked about individuals. We advocate a lot for trans people, but that non-binary somehow gets missed. So thank you for sharing that. Karen, for me, I would like to know a little bit about your thoughts on After the Storm. So, legacy versus memory. In this book, by the end of it, the party as an organization is diminished. Like it sort of starts crumbling and breaking, and before you know it, it just kind of like dies. What do you think, like, these researchers and people from the book were trying to, and you've made it to chapter 7, so you have some type of point of view, want us to remember most about the Panthers? Their achievements, their failures, their humanity, or was it the fact that please listen to how this broke down so that if you decide to do something like this, you can do it differently?
Um, I I think honestly to me that they were trying to bring up the awareness of the Black Panther Party that most people don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, they don't talk much about Black Panther Party in school. So, and I honestly knew very little about them before reading this book. So I think they were just trying as a whole to un to give people understanding of it.
Yeah,
Um,
like a
I
like information, a historical guideline of what
Mhm.
happened, just to fully inform.
Yeah, I think they did. Just in my opinions, I am very interested in the subject, and I do want to read more about it. I think personally for me, this book is hard to get into
Mm-hmm.
because, at least for me, I read a lot, and do read a lot of nonfiction. Um, I mentioned this before. It feels to me like a textbook,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard for me to connect because I don't feel like I feel they jump around too much. I feel they repeat things a lot and then are all over the place. And and I kind of am like, okay, I would have wanted to have a more personal feeling about the characters. Well, not the characters, but the people involved.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just so much information thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, to me, it felt very repetitive. Like they would talk about things several times, and then they would talk about things out of order.
Yeah,
And that kind of, in my mind, kind of drove me a little crazy because I'm like sitting there going, how am I supposed to understand, like to get all the points together because they keep going back and forth. And
you're not alone in that. And if you want to continue, so the first time around, I felt that way, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get this structured to talk about? So what I did was there were so many acronyms and there were so many people. I made post-its of little blurbs of what each one meant, and then kept those at the front of the book so that when they kept going back and forth, I wish Emily Noel was here as a writer, but I think the book could have used a better editor. That's the only criticism I have for it. But I read a lot of research on health epidemiology and stuff, and that's just the way I had to address this book. Like this is like a text and I'm learning something. But that's how I did it. I took notes so that I could reference back because I wasn't retaining properly. And that is a writing style issue. It doesn't pull you in enough, and it's sad because the material is so good. That was my biggest caveat with the whole thing. To spice things up, we're going to do a lightning round because we're halfway through, just so that we don't get any monotony. This is the kind of the game, and we'll start at the bottom since we've been at the top. So we'll start with Udi. You get 30 to 60 seconds max. The You're more than welcome to put opinions in the chat, and you can pass if you want. So the only person that gets to speak is that person at that time. So what you're basically going to do is I'm going to give you like a blurb and you're going to give me your feelings in 30 to 60 seconds. Okay, Udi, ready? When you hear the word revolution today, do you feel hope, fear, exhaustion, or something else?
It's all of them.
Okay.
I'm hoping for change. I'm scared that we're going to get crushed in it and nothing's going to change.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I'm not allowed to talk, I'm not allowed to give my opinion, but I want to. But yes, I mm, agree. Nikki, the Black Panther Party believes survival programs were revolutionary. What survival program do you think America needs most right now?
I'm not sure because I didn't get that far in the book, so I'm not sure what their survival programs were that they used.
Any survival, if you could come up, I'm really surprised your gut instinct was healthcare reform, with what you're going through. But um, anything that you think is at the highest level of what we need right now. It doesn't have to be about the book. It can be about today, where you think America needs reform the most right now.
Oh, then absolutely healthcare reform with all
Yeah,
the
there's a
bullshit,
real
especially when it comes to workers' comp, because that's just a whole bunch of bullshit.
it overflows into mental health, and then mental health affects things like this, like the Black Panther Party. Yeah. I was really shocked you didn't jump on that because you're struggling bad with it.
I'm still
Maggie,
kind of half asleep.
it's okay, honey. You're wonderful. Um, okay. In your opinion, who is treated as the most disposable in today's political climate?
I think it depends on who you talk to be honest.
We're talking to you.
Right. But I don't think like there is a single most disposable. Like I don't think that's how white supremacy works.
Mhm.
Um I think white supremacy is a fickle and consistently changing beast that will destroy everything in its path. But I think currently in this moment we are seeing a focus on um certainly people of color and non-citizens um and trans folks um but I think those and disabled folks, but again, like I think all of those are
Basically
they're
marginalized.
but they're fungible, right? Like all of
Yeah.
those are very fungible definitions, right? Like you can change somebody's citizenship legally. You can change somebody's disability status legally. You can determine somebody is disabled by changing the definition of disability. So I think that's why I
Mhm.
struggle. And I also don't like I really do not subscribe to like who is the most hurt by a particular thing necessarily.
I love that too.
Like it doesn't seem worth my time to argue about like whether a white, trans masculine person is more at risk than like a black cis like that just doesn't like they're both at risk
Really,
for different
really
reasons.
good point.
Um,
Pain is not lateral or
yeah.
hierarchical, like it's the person. Can I ask you another one since that one was difficult? Did it?
Yeah.
Okay. What is one system, ICE, police, housing, healthcare, prisons, or welfare, that feels the most urgent to you to confront today? And I know all of them are a problem, but if you could start from like where it's the most broken and go down, where do
I
you
think
feel?
so. I wouldn't say it's the most broken necessarily, but I do think it's the most urgent would be ICE and like
Mhm.
our immigration system in its entirety
Yes,
uh, can be lit up
wholeheartedly agree.
and thrown out.
I think that problem trickles down to all the others.
It's certainly related to all of them.
Yeah. Laura, my question for you, I have to go into my next page here. Okay. When you think about ICE raids and deportations, what emotion rises first for you?
Anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Me too. Like unadulterated rage.
Yes.
Jane, do you believe poverty in America today is a policy choice and is done to keep people imprisoned in poverty in the way that they tried to do that with Black people going to prison for marijuana charges and things like that? Why or why not?
Like, do I feel it's a choice being made by people in charge?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, I do mostly.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Like that sounds like vast oversimplification, but I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a conscious decision or if it's just that they don't give a shit about poor people.
Yeah. I think it's definite. I think it's deliberate. I'm not supposed to be talking. I have so many opinions. Um, what is something you once believed about Law and Order that within the last 6 to 7 years that you now question?
That's a tough one because I've never been a big like fan of okay, Law and Order, of course we all
Please,
want. Yeah.
freely.
Um, so I'll share something personal. Um, the police came to my house because a friend of mine thought I was going to hurt myself. Well, I was. Um, they are not here to help us. Okay, they are to dispose of the problem. So it really didn't shock me at all. So I guess I'll say nothing really shocked me about this. It just made me sadder and more 10 toes down on the bullshittery.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
There's my
There's
answer.
a lot of people relating with you right now, just so you know, you're not alone in that, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. I also experienced something similar. So you are not alone,
Thank you.
and I'm sorry that happened.
Uh, me too.
Um,
Thanks.
yeah. Karen, um, if the Panthers were organizing today, if you were the head of it, what issue do you think you would center first?
The children. I would I would definitely focus on programs for children. Because they don't have a voice. They can't protect themselves. They can't um and most of you know that that's a very tough subject for me because of my grandson and um having to deal with the situation of him being injured when he was almost 3 months old. And his POS father barely went to jail.
Hmm.
And and
I could see you advocating brilliantly for that. That's because you empathize with it so much. And I
yes.
think it's the future and it may get worse for them and they need to be prepared and protected. It's just hard not to say that. It's just, it sticks out everywhere. Gwen, what does the state of violence look like to you right now in 2026? Is it loud, quiet, bureaucratic, like incognito? Is it something that is in the forefront of everyone's mind, or do you think that it's dismissed and diminished?
I think it's very bureaucratic. I think it's governmental. I think the government is where the violence is. I honestly don't think we're violent enough back. I think that we need to get more violent. I think that we need to get more aggressive. I think our protests and our little peaceful protests aren't doing shit. I'm sorry, but I think it's honestly as
Um,
scary as that might be. I think it's time for more active.
think it's trickling down, but I do think it does come from the government too. But I do think they have minions to execute those things.
Yeah.
Um, Christine, who benefits from poor people fighting each other instead of fighting systems? Why do you think that happens? So stuff like gang on gang, or I mean, I was one of the reason I asked this, one of the podcasts I was talking listening to continued on to the next episode because I didn't realize it had ended, and it was one of the ones that Maggie had suggested, and it was a different topic, but it was talking about how more black men kill black men than white men kill black men. And I found that like astonishing still right now. So I wanted to ask, like, what do you think, how do you think they get turned against each other? Who do you think that benefits? Why do you think that happens?
I think that I think that it benefits the government. It benefits the people in power. It benefits the ruling elite. And I think that, I think we can look back and see how, they have been sowing division between the, you know, right the right and the left side of politics for since the 80s. And now it's just becoming like more and more obvious that, that's happening. And in my opinion, I think it's more, the haves and the have-nots, and being in a position of being a have-not. Um, I feel like I'm fighting the haves, and I think that a lot of poor people are in the same position.
They really aren't giving us much choice
Right.
at this point. And I agree 100%. Cicely, I'm so sorry if you shared the podcast. I went down rabbit holes with it. I thought it was Maggie. I've been on YouTube and on podcasts digging through things about the Black Panthers since we started the book. Unfortunately for me, I'm like you. My podcasts are on my phone, so I get like 9 in and I don't even realize I've gone that far, like I over listen. But anyway, my question for you is, what is one, and I'm so curious, what is one myth about poverty that you personally, as you've grown, you had to unlearn? Because I know you've been in poverty. I know you went through some tough shit and you were working at like a really hard job. You were raising your kids. You're like me, you've rubbed pennies together. But now you are a little bit more settled. Like, what have you learned through that growth about it?
I think, to me, one of the biggest myths about poverty is that you can like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get out of it.
Yeah.
It's absolute trash. Like we are doing, both my husband and I grew up in poverty and everything else, but um where we are now has a lot to do with privilege. It's not like we didn't work hard. We both have worked very hard, but there's a lot of privilege involved and honestly a lot of luck.
Yes. Yes.
I
I
like
mean,
some
it's
of
like a good deal.
like the job that I have a good job, not because I'm more qualified, because I'm not. I was in the right place at the right time with it just
I disagree,
that's luck.
but that's okay.
Um and sometimes no matter how hard you work, you do all the right things, it doesn't always matter.
I know that. I know that. You're right. You're so
Things
right.
are just there
Hmm.
for the next 12 generations.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. My thoughts exactly. Brenna, for you, the Panthers openly confronted the police power. If you could confront them yourself, what is the one thing, if you could go into any type of reform for the police, what is the one thing that you would address first?
That's a hard question
And you're a
because
social worker.
yeah, I would want to just scrap the entire system and start fresh, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. So it's hard to pick like one thing. However, if I were to choose something that maybe I could contribute to, something that I could help change,
Mhm.
is adding mental health professionals to the police force. I know that that happens sometimes. I know that it's also very rare. I used to work many years ago in a crisis prevention center where we did like local crisis calls and also answered the hotline for like the National Suicide Prevention.
Mhm.
And the amount of homes that I went into with it was like a catch 22. You know what I mean? Like going without police, I was in a dangerous situation.
Mhm.
But it's not like I felt incredibly safe having police there all the time either, right? And so like having professionals that are, mental health workers that are incorporated into the system, I think could really change a lot of things.
Well, had you or another social worker come knocking on I or Mac's door versus the police, it would have been a totally different result.
Hmm.
So there's that. So we're going to get back to the questions. Mac, you are in the next in line. I got to get back to them. Here they are. Okay. So we are going
Me?
to, yeah, do next. We ask Karen last.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting into it. Okay. So, um, to preface with it, in The Black Against Empire, the authors show how the Black Panther Party evolved from a hyper masculine public image to an organization where women eventually made up the majority of the membership and held real leadership roles, even while sexism and patriarchal norms were so prevalent and persisted. And I really wanted to touch on this part of the book because we didn't get a chance to last week. So, my question for you is, the Panthers initially cultivated an armed, militant, masculine image. How do you think that image both empowered and limited the movement? And where do you see strength with the women coming in and how it changed and evolutioned the whole dynamic and why they brought them in? Because they did not have to.
Well, damn. All right. I'll start this three-part essay by, no, I'm just kidding. Um, well, the image, the militant image, um, how did it empower them? Well, it definitely was a do not mess with us unless you want to be fucked back with type of image. Um, I thought it was I loved the imagery. However, I can see the negative side where it would be extremely off-putting to like little old church lady types or that type of thing. I'm afraid I'm not going to get all the parts of the question you asked me. How did it evolve when the women came in?
Yes.
Right? Is that my
Mm-hmm.
next part?
Yes.
Well, women, as we know, are the doers of society. Really.
Truly.
The men, just one example was that breakfast program that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What better way to empower your whole entire society than giving them Maslow's very bottom rung
Mm-hmm.
food?
To dig deeper, just a little.
Yeah.
If you could, I don't know, prophesize, think about, do you think things would be different right now had Kamala won versus Trump just because she was
No.
a woman? Just because she was a woman, despite her.
Well, you can't just,
I know,
yeah, you
I
can't
know.
just, but yes, okay, to say yes, it would be, for one thing, I don't think Kamala Harris would be on Truth Social or whatever saying like ridiculous, incendiary things about journalists or just common
Mhm.
citizens of the, so you can't just say the masculine feminine dynamic of, I mean, yes, I do definitely think it would be a much different thing, but that's hard to parse out
Yeah.
with what all
Um,
we know.
I only asked them. Her book came out the first those 100 days of her campaign, and thinking about it, I just wanted to hear your thoughts as a female. If you think it could have, because we were in a pivotal place, if we
Mhm.
would be healing more just because she was a female versus a man.
I, I do.
Yeah.
Yep,
Um.
that's my simple answer.
Yeah. Jameson, do you think revolutionary moments often replicate the same gender hierarchies they claim to fight? So like, have you ever gotten involved in something that you thought was progressive that still carried some really serious sexism and gender norm issues that made it hard for women or non-binary or trans people to have a voice?
I don't really recall that I've ever been involved in like in that situation. I'm sure it happens.
Hmm.
I just don't think I have enough
Personal life
information.
experience?
Yeah, I just don't think I have enough involvement in those spaces to.
I have a question for you. Can't, if you
Yeah,
don't mind. I want to
yeah,
dig into something. That's why I saved it for you. I hope it's okay.
No, yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
you're a non-binary, proud
Hmm.
person. You perform in a group that is called Big Girl Burlesque, recently changed over to BGB, right? Am I correct on that?
Well, we didn't really change anything.
How does that make
That's
you
just,
feel?
you know, they're so clear about size has nothing to do with sexy, but they're also very clear that neither does gender or how old you are or what your sexuality is.
Mhm.
They're very clear about that. We have discussed changing the name because not because I have said anything, but
There are other people who are
because
non-binary.
well, I mean, this is coming from people who are not, but when the problem with that becomes is that when you have a city who is used to looking you up as the BGB and then you change that, we sell tickets and we sell seats by word of mouth. So if you're trying to find us, anyway, the point of how
It's a
like
brand. It's a
it
brand.
doesn't make me feel any particular way really. That group of people is so respectful about pronouns and about whatever else.
Oh, they're an incredible group of people. My
It-
my point of view was not so much about that, because I've seen, and it's my also my favorite burlesque troupe ever too. It was more of, let's say that I'm somebody that doesn't know, I've never been, right? And I hear there's a show for big girl burlesque, and I show up, and not everybody's girl. Like, has anybody ever had a reaction to that? Like, no.
I think so
Okay.
because we very obviously we make an effort to book drag kings.
Hmm.
We make an effort to book marginalized people. And
Hmm.
I feel like I know I am a white face up on that stage, but we work really hard to do that. And I think that I think it's a very queer space. It's a
Yeah.
very liberal, like it's a very liberal. I'm not politically liberal. It's just a very liberal with what they believe space. So
Hmm.
they try very hard to I mean, I know I've heard it said that we don't need to book drag queens because they have enough stages.
Yes, they do.
And we rarely I don't think I've ever seen us book a drag queen. We have booked drag kings because those are the people who don't have access to that space.
For whatever reason, because that's new. When I came out as a baby gay, it was huge.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't feel any certain way about it
Hmm.
because they're so respectful of what everyone's identity is.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I've thought about many times, just the relatable of changing Cozy Corner's name. Because let's be honest, it's not the most fitting name for this group of individuals. But it's a brand, and I'm scared to step away from it because that's how people find us now. But for you, as somebody, I just wondered if you ever got any pushback and what that feels like for you as somebody who's in a gendered group, its name, what it felt like to perform there, and if you ever felt like, oh, what if there's somebody out there expecting?
I just think that I know why it started and I know
Hmm.
why that name was chosen because at the time that it started and when that name was chosen, plus size women didn't have that space.
No.
And and Lena was incredible about holding space for those people.
Yes.
And what I love is that that's how it started, but it grew to include people who also didn't have that space.
Yes. And it still
I
does.
think she has worked incredibly hard to give marginalized people that space that they need to be who
She's
they are.
also, I do want to say, anybody who's never been to a show, from the very start, she kind of lays a format of like consent, safety, respect before every show, and I've always found that extremely admirable. But just you personally, that's why I saved it for you. So thank you for being so forthright and honest about your experience with it because it's different than Maggie's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was curious. And then Laura. I know that you also go back and forth between like, non-binary feelings. Not to like out you, but I know that's something you like have thought about. Um, and I wanted to ask, like, this book shows women doing both emotional labor and political labor and physical labor. Like they actually go out into communities like Sicily, and do a lot of like manual work. Um, in your role in activism, like where would you want to take place? Would you want to be somebody that does like behind the scene work, like building the image of it? Would you want to be out like Cicely on the forefront and like at tables and setting up things? Or would you want to do like communal support and like serve meals? Like as somebody who isn't necessarily, you're more like in familiar roles, you would be more towards like a dad, not a mom. Like, where would your role be in that whole thing? But you identify
Definitely
as a
the
woman most of the time. Yeah.
definitely the physical side of things.
Uh-huh. Okay, so like the more of the labor
The
side.
labor,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that carrying all the things. I'm the one building whatever needs to be built.
Mm-hmm.
That's my wheelhouse. That's kind of how I live my life. It's the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
How do you feel about those women back then, considering it was like kind of controversial? Women were barefoot and pregnant, and that was their role. How do you think it would be for somebody like you to experience like stepping out and doing like the manual labor? Do you feel like that would
um,
be uncomfortable?
I love that they did it.
Hmm.
Like, I love that they pushed the norms aside, stood up, and was like, we're here. We can do it.
Yeah.
We don't need to be behind the scenes. We can stand out here just like everybody else.
Hmm. Not fragile.
And no, yeah, no, I hate that women are always viewed that way because there are very few women I know, femme, whatever, that are actually fragile.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, you've brought
I
that.
know most of the men I know are far more fragile than any of the women in my life.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I really wanted your point of view on that. Maggie, um, moving on. So when you read the book, and I know you've enjoyed it a lot, the Panthers critiqued capitalism and the way it relates to racism, and also gender equality wasn't always centered early on. Why do you think gender often becomes the secondary part in liberation? So why do you think like they waited or we wait for women to come out on the front line?
So I don't think necessarily that gender is always secondary, but I do think that whatever the primary locus of that arm of the movement is tends to take primary focus, and then any other identities tend to take secondary. So you see this in disability rights where racial identity and gender become secondary to disability status. You see it in women's rights where racial status is secondary to gender status. You see it in queer rights where sexuality may be secondary to gender for women who are both women and queer. And so I think part of it is just the reality that if you have two cis black men who are together creating a political identity, it is maybe not going to be at the top of their heads what a cis black woman's political theory might be as well. And I don't necessarily think that undermines the validity of what they did come up with. Um,
You're
and
right.
I think we all learn and grow. And I don't I will be honest, I haven't finished the book yet because life caught up with me. But um I know like that as the Black Panther Party developed, they did understand, a huge part that like the intersectionality of their work was going to make sure that they did not leave behind other identities. That's why like the Rainbow Coalition was so important, because you need people to be fighting for their own identities and all having a seat at the table talking about these things.
I love picking your brain. You're like my new favorite person to delve into. Um, I love that you brought that up. For Valentine's Day, Gwen wanted a tattoo that was rainbow. And we shared pictures of that. And I wanted the female symbol, the feminist symbol, really bad. But then I couldn't do it because I'm an intersectional feminist. So like all CIS and like not just them, my sisters, like everybody. So I couldn't commit to that. The fact that you brought up intersectional, and the way that they were and reading the book and then trying to get that tattoo was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, but I don't know what image I want to use. So thank you. Um, a lot of people don't have much education on that. So again, once again, bringing that something that a lot of people don't know about. Um, Nikki, if you were in the party of the Black Panthers in 1968, what do you think you would have been your biggest internal conflict? Would it have been the violence, the subjection of possible younger men being predisposed to like militant conditioning and anger and maybe projecting them on a life of like hardship, or the fact that it wasn't the communication? Like as a woman, we communicate more than men, better than men. I'm sorry. There are some men in my life that are amazing at it, but the majority is just not great. What do you think you would have struggled with most in that party?
I want to say communication, but as a mom, I would really
Hmm.
struggle watching the young men being subjected to that and knowing not only what they'd be dealing with then, but what they'd be dealing with mentally for the rest of their life.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not a mom, but I turn in a mama bear for every
It it would be
child
so
out there.
hard because like I don't want to watch them go through it, but at the same time, like the young men, just being their age, they're ruthless. Like they're perfect for it. But as a mom, it would be so hard to watch. And I
Yeah,
would be doing everything I can to protect them along the way.
me too. Me too. I wouldn't be able to help myself. Okay, so Udi, just a little bit of education before I ask you the question, because I know you haven't gotten really, really far. And I think it's important that everybody know this. The Black Panther Party was founded in October 1966 in Oakland. The Stonewall riots began on June 28th, 1969 in New York City at the Stonewall Inn. From October 1966 to June of 1969, about 2 years and 8 months apart, the Panthers were already nationally visible and under intense state of repression by the time Stonewall occurred. So, with that being said, they were already getting so much opposition from the police, FBI. They were constantly trying to be snuffed out. If you, and I know you're not gay, like, but you're so gay friendly, you're so open, you have so many people in your life that are gay. As I don't know if you know anything about Marsha P. Johnson, but she was a trans woman. As putting yourself and empathizing in her place, she was also Black. Um, During that time, and the police infiltrated their pride at Stonewall, and she threw the first brick. For you personally, if you were in her shoes, would it have been worth it? Would you have taken that risk to fight for your people, and to stand up for like your individuality and who you are and who she was, being involved in both, knowing the repression the Black Panther Party was going to get? Would that be something you'd come out swinging on? Because I know you do. Or would you have sat quietly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would have come out swinging. What happened afterwards, it really helped
So
progress
many people.
so many people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would definitely do that. You guys, my people.
Yeah, that's why I saved it for you. I wanted people to know, even the straight people in here are huge allies, or whatever, they've got your back. And I know that you fiercely come out fighting for everyone you love. There are so many more questions I would love to discuss, but we are at 9:05. So I want to take a moment and discuss our next book just a little bit and also show, oh Lord, please work because I have a filter. That's what the, is it in the image? This little son of a bitch. Oh, there's the Black Panther cover in case anybody's watching on YouTube and wants to find the book. And it's also free for download on the internet. But our next book won by 7 votes, and it was Laura's nomination. I will say she was smart with her nomination this time. She knows this group loves fantasy, romance, lesbian, historical stuff like that. And it won. So I want to talk about the author because that's why we chose it. So can I see her? This is her. And please correct me if I am pronouncing anything wrong. Somebody just speak up. But it's Sarah L. Arifi. Arifi? Anybody think that's right? Okay. So that's the author. She's a best-selling author of fantasy and historical fiction. She knew she was a storyteller from the moment she told her first lie. Over the years, she had perfected her tales into epic ones. She has lived in many countries, had many jobs, and owned many more cats. After a decade of working in marketing communication, she returned to academia where she started getting her master's degree in African studies, specializing in Cleopatra's myth and her impact on what it has done to Black women. She currently resides in London as a full-time self-promoted procrastinator. So she's a really cool chick. Like all of her other she writes in their Sunday Times and somewhere in Europe, I think Britain. She's hilarious. I'm wondering if the book will be funny. So the book is called Faybound. I want to say that I'm excited to read it. Oh Lord, help me. Not coming up. There we go. Oh, there we go. I'll put it on me. There we go. It's called Faybound. I wanted to read Addicted, and I'm going to be doing that as my snack book. That was Jameson's nomination, but this was my second choice in the Heaven and grocery store. But it's a romantic fantasy of epic proportions, crackling with magic and passion. And just a little synopsis of it is let's see. Two elven sisters become imprisoned in the intoxicating world of the Fae, where danger and love lie in wait. Faybound is the first book in an enchanting new trilogy, a romantic fantasy of epic proportions where magic and passion intertwine. It's 400 pages. The last chapter is like epically long, but the first 13 are kind of normal. So I wanted everyone to read to the end of chapter 13 for next week. I'm super excited. We haven't talked a lot about Fae, but we have a lot of witches in here. And I believe Mac, like myself, also kind of identifies as a fairy. So somewhere inside me is definitely a fairy. So I'm so excited to cover it and see what it's like. And I've never read this Black author. Has anybody else? Because she has tons of books. No, I'm excited. I think it will be fun. And I'm going to give a moment before we start After Dark for anybody who has any thoughts and feelings that weren't covered about this book since we covered it so quickly that you would really like to bring up. And that's primarily those who have read it or anybody that struggled. So, Brenna, did you have anything you would like to share?
I don't think so at this time. I know I didn't finish it. I do plan on finishing it. It's just obviously going to be at a slower pace, but I'm still been kind of trucking through. So I just wanted everybody to know I do have intentions on finishing.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong to being like, I can't do this book and like it. Like, that's so important to me that you guys know it's okay. There's no obligation to read, there's no obligation to attend. I love the involvement and I like pushing people past their boundaries so they can learn. But if it's something that goes too fast or it's too difficult or it hurts your mental health, step away. Like you matter more than any book. So, Cicely, let's hear the thought.
Like my general thoughts on the book.
Anything.
I really enjoyed this one. I've read it before, but it's been a while. So it felt kind of it felt fresh to me because it's like I said, it's been a number of years. Um, I read everything, so I think the format is a little bit more challenging, but it's not a new type of format for me or something that I'm not used to, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I think the audiobook was easier and hilariously, I turned the audiobook up to 1.2 speed because I like his voice and everything, but he's a slow talker.
I went to
And
1.5. Hmm.
yeah, it's part of it I was at 1.5, but mostly I was at 1.2. And I'm like,
Hmm.
slow walkers and slow talkers, I can't fucking do it. Like, I'm a full-time gimp and I can't stand a slow walker. So,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
but I liked it and there wasn't a lot of new information to me, I think, but I think um yeah, I thought it was good. I think it's important and I think that as things progress, it's important to understand how movements have been created in the past and how they have worked or not worked, what did or didn't work,
That's a
and what
perfect point.
the factors were in that.
Hmm.
Um,
Very important for me. And I will say, you in this group, I'm always the weird one, but the response we've gotten on TikTok's Cozy Corner page about this book has been the most active content I've ever gotten. So I don't know
yeah,
if it's because I tagged Black History Month, and so a lot of Black readers have read it and loved it. Because the majority of people that commented had talked about how profoundly it changed them. But I will say the feedback versus a larger Black population versus what we have, which is why I did some recruiting. Um, Really weird. I did not expect that. They usually just get hearted. People are like commenting about it. So the response there was totally different.
I think it's really interesting subject matter and there's a lot of really engaging people in the book. I do think someone else said that it kind of jumps around in the timeline.
Yes.
So it'll kind of go forward and then it'll go back to deal with somebody else and I do think that makes it harder to keep track of where we are
Mhm.
like in time in the timeline of it. But
Still good though, right? Like, am I weird? I don't know. There's something wrong with me, but I loved it.
no,
I'll recommend it.
I loved it. It was my nomination. I've already read it and I wanted to read it again. So um
As a question, so like for me, I nominated Eat, Pray, Love. And a lot of people didn't like it, and I got a lot of pushback on it. And when I reread it and went back to it, I hated it too. I was angry at her. I don't know if you remember or not.
yes,
Was it like
because
going
I was
home?
the only one that started out hating it.
Yeah, yeah. And I was pissed at her. And like, but when I read it the first time, I loved it. But was it like going home for you? Did it feel the same, or was it different?
No, here's the thing, truly. In the last couple of years, I'm so exhausted that if I read something last month, it's probably new to me today.
Mm,
Like it's just all fucking
all the
soup and bullshit and
cortexes.
stress in here. Like
Yeah. No, I get it completely. Christine, is there anything that you would like to share?
Sorry, I was trying to read all of the notes that everybody's passing back and forth.
Yes, I know there's so much chat going on. I know.
Um, I think for me, one of the biggest things that hit me was they did the breakfast for the children, and I'm like, and here we are in 2026, and we still don't have a program for kids to be able to go to school with full bellies. Like what,
Don't
you
get me
know,
started. I could go
there's
on a whole
there's
ass
so
tangent.
there's so much to the content of this book that is infuriating because it's so many years later and we're still kind of in the same place with a lot of stuff.
We're literally, what would that be, you guys? 60 years later? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm a literary person. It's 60 years. Lord have mercy. This is just ridiculous. We've been going around the same mountain way too many damn times. So if they have to burn this whole system down, fuck it, let's do it. We need to start over. It's
Yep.
broken. And I love that input. You're right. It is redunculous that we are still here. The babies are
Yes.
going to school hungry. But I'll tell you what, I think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to go too far with this. But you keep them hungry, you keep them malnutrition, you keep them poor. They're too weak to fight back. And our healthcare system is so fucking broken that they can't get help. So what do
Yeah.
you have? You have a weak person who can't fight the system.
Yep.
Gwen, do you have any thoughts?
I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the education. I enjoyed getting to know about the Black Panther Party. But that's about my gist of it. And I am actually gonna go take care of the dog, so I'm gonna log off.
I love that. Bye, baby. Um, Mac, are you leaving or did you have input? You were just waving. Okay.
I have input. Yes, what I was going to say is to everyone who was like, wow, I didn't know this. There's a reason why that you didn't know this. And it's because, well, I was a teacher in the state of Ohio for 23 years. They control what information comes out, and um, it, there's a reason that kids are not taught things, and there's a reason why a lot of people have a certain idea in their mind when they think Black Panthers. Oh shit, they're gonna take over and kill whatever. There's a reason we all didn't know. So fight the powers that be.
Why the
Kelly,
hell
I think
am I
you're
muted?
muted.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I was saying hell yes to you, Mac, and I asked Jameson if they had any thoughts. Can you guys hear? Oh, there's Jameson.
No,
You
no,
can
I got
you
you
just
now.
change? Yep, go ahead.
Um, I really, I don't know. It feels weird to say you enjoyed the book, but like, I think I just learned so many things that I didn't know. And
Right.
like, I would hear something and I would have to go back and I was like, that cannot be right. And then go back and listen to it again. And I'm just like, I don't know.
I
Yeah,
went to Google Scholar because I
yeah,
was so shocked by some of the things that I'm like, this has to be wrong. It has to be. No.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, you came in green, but you're in yellow, and I'm loving it.
Oh, I took my sweater off. I was too warm.
I like it. Laura, do you have any thoughts? I know, I want to hear your point of view about being a part of the meetings without being able to read the book, your point of view and that perspective.
Um, with the questions that you ask, it's easy to follow along, even though I didn't actually read the book. Like, so I can still get an idea of what happened, what the book was about, what the movement was about, how things worked.
Do you feel like you gained any type of insight into the book despite not reading it by coming to the meetings?
Yes.
Good. That was
I
my
mean, probably
hope.
not the whole picture, but
Yeah. Um,
yeah, definitely some.
That's really important to me. Was the experience okay for you? Like, if we ever do this again, I really need to know your input. Like, was it okay to follow along? Was it uncomfortable? Were there any issues?
Oh, I didn't have any issues.
Oh, well, you're so laid back, I wouldn't expect you to, but I was
Well,
just curious if you had any critiques for other people
but
who
no,
didn't want to.
it was very easy to follow along, especially when quite a few have read the book, so they have extra insight and they can pull from the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've read the book, so
Mhm. Yeah.
and for those of us that hadn't, you gave lead up and
Yeah.
background on what our question was. So,
That's really important to me because this is the only time I'm going to do this. Um, I will never do this again. We vote on a book, we finish the fucking book. People want to set it out, they set it out. I have to get in my leader mode and just stand on business. So I do want to apologize that I faltered. Um, I I want to make people happy, but I also need to be a leader. So I'm finding my space in that. And so I needed feedback to know whether it would be okay to continue with that. Maggie, I know you have so much information.
Hi, baby.
But I want to know what you want to share, like what you took away, what you would like to everybody else to know that maybe couldn't get through it.
I've never read this book before. But as I've mentioned a few times, I teach aspects of this history. I'm teaching a year-long class that focuses on the trial of the Chicago Seven, which is briefly touched on in the book because Bobby Seale was one of the defendants in the trial. Um, and Jameson and I have talked a lot about this book, like on our way to practice and stuff, because I just find the misinformation about the Black Panther Party in particular, to be really, um, not only frustrating, but something that obscures a really clear picture of who our government actually is,
Mhm.
and relies on and has been successful largely because of the demonization and um aggressive projection of Black men,
Yeah.
um and the racism towards Black men, um and so it's just like I just think the history is really important. I think they were able to see things and say things that like are still true today. Like their criticisms of Black capitalism are still true today, and of capitalism are still true today. Their importance of community sustaining programs such as health clinics and breakfast for children are still prevalent today. They pushed forward the scientific inquiry in, like, genuinely the United States government was not invested into investigating sickle cell until the Black Panther Party showed up and basically showed them they had to. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
which is incredible. They were integral to disability rights being passed with their support of the Section 504 amendments. They are in many ways integral to the like that catalyzation that happened in the 1960s, that swept across the country. Um, and I think the book really brings together one of the things that I loved and learned a lot about is the where they learned from and what parts of the Black civil rights movement they drew on. Some of you know that I am really into boxing. My husband is really into boxing. His whole um worldview in many ways was colored by Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And so getting to hear about Muhammad Ali being in many ways one of the first real people to stand up to the draft, was incredible to like learn and be able to discuss with him. Um, and so I just think it's really important. Um, and I love nonfiction. I love talking about it. And to Mac's point, like you don't get taught this in school. I am really lucky that I get to teach this to my students. But that is not guaranteed. Like if I worked at a public college in Ohio, I could not teach this.
Well, oh, I
Uh,
know.
I
Yeah.
am
I asked
really
when about was it Capital or was it, Columbus State? Because I knew it was going to be Columbus State and I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I work at Case, which is a private school. And so that's why I am allowed to teach what I want to teach. I got to teach about Black Lives Matter the year before. Again, I wouldn't be allowed to teach that if I was working at a public school. And so that's why I am so passionate about us reading this book as well, because I think it is privileged to be able to get to access this information. It's something that your government doesn't want you to have access to. And I think that's always really important to look into.
I love that. And I love that you are able to bring parts of that we don't know about here to book club, because there's so many things that I've already gathered and learned from you, and I'm just so grateful for that. Because I would not know that, but I did know that Columbus State can't teach things like that. Nikki, I know. Oh my God, look at you with the baby.
She is a
Um,
baby.
oh, she is a bitch. She
Oh, now
reminds me
she
so
wants
much
to
of my
run.
Penny Lane. Every time I see her, she makes me want to just steal her. Same with Maddie, though. So I can't help it. I love them both. Um, as somebody who also struggled with making it through the book and who's been going through like the absolute hell of life, was coming to the meeting still okay? Was it like a bad experience in any way for you?
Oh, absolutely not. I was able to learn about the book through all of you guys without having to read it. Now, granted, I know I've missed a lot by not reading it, but coming to book club just in general brightens my day. So getting to see all of you, getting to hear all of your opinions, and
Yeah.
it's been shitty. I'm kind of in limbo right now with workers' comp, trying to get this appointment at OSU. Still haven't heard anything.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well,
Trying to get
just
a
so you
hold
know,
of.
they're going through some shit. Wexner is in the Epstein files. They're being, and Ohio Health is being sued right now from the DOJ. Like the health system in Ohio is moving super freaking slow. It's not just you, but it freaking sucks bad.
Yeah, because like I'm waiting on a referral for OSU spine. I'm waiting on a referral for a sleep study. I'm waiting on a referral for more physical therapy, and I'm waiting on a referral for. I don't even remember what the last thing was, but it's a lot. And haven't heard anything
Nikki,
from anybody. And I'm running out of FMLA in 3 days, so I don't know what's going to happen with my job.
do you have an attorney yet?
Kevin is speaking with one. He
Okay,
got us
we
one.
really need the attorney to extend the FMLA. Like we need them to actively work on that like tomorrow.
I did email my HR because I've been doing all communications through email now, so I can have everything documented.
Mm-hmm.
And they did say that they will, once FMLA ends, it'll go into a medical leave.
Yeah. Do you have something
Um,
to pick that up, like a Cobra?
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
That's a guarantee short-term disability.
So everything's just kind of on the fence
Ah,
right now, and I'm just hanging out.
well, I'm
But I
glad
do
you're
want to give
here.
everybody a reminder. I did throw it in the chat. This is the last week for the fundraiser.
Really?
February's over by next week.
Holy crap, where the hell did February go? January was 992 days. February came in a blink. Oh my
Mm,
God, it was just
That's
like
because
that
we
little
were covered
fucking
in
townhouse
snow.
on a shadow. That's crazy. Okay.
But yeah, no, it'll go until I'll give it until next Sunday, next meeting.
So I'm gonna take the funds so we can do it in one lump sum on Thursday for the shirts, which
Okay.
actually is at $90. We
Nice.
raised a considerable amount. We had 6 buyers for that shirt, which
That's
is more
awesome.
than
So
any other
far
shirt ever.
on the between the Facebook, the old Facebook fundraiser and the GoFundMe, we're right over $75. So that's without the shirt
Huh.
funds. So we did pretty good. And I will send another post for everybody to go onto the GoFundMe and share through the GoFundMe. Don't try and share it from our Facebook group because we're private now.
Right, you have
It
to
won't
click it.
share.
Yeah, you have to click it and share it. Thank you. I will do that, and I'll do that aggressively this week everywhere. Udi, did you have anything you would like to share, my dear?
Um, I really liked the book. I thought it was very educational. It did take a lot to read, but they I had a really amazing professor in college, and he was Black.
Oh.
And he taught us a lot about the Black Panthers, and so this was a nice, not as in depth as this.
I think that's amazing. I had to do all of my own education. However, I did go to all Catholic school and Catholic college until I went to my master's program. But yeah, that's phenomenal that you got to have that experience. I've yet to have any professors do that with me. So
He was an amazing professor, hands down. I loved him.
I'm
He
sure
wrote his own book and and about war and why we war and stuff, and he's very insightful.
things like this make impact. Like Cicely, I want to thank so much for choosing this book and doing this, because every little ripple, every person that gets educated, no matter how small, makes a difference. So I am going to leave you guys for after dark. My new job is kicking my literal ass. But yeah, we are almost finally, after 3 years, almost under 200 pounds because the job is running literally the butt off. But I do have to be there super early, and so I can't stay. But next week, since we are covering Fae for After Dark, I'm gonna get a Fae tarot deck. And we can do some Fae tarot. So I think that'll be really fun. And congrats to oh, Udi, look at you! Life is just blooming for Udi, you guys. Like getting healthy, career, new place to live. Life is seeing you go from where you were when we first met to now. I hope I get where you are, baby. I really do. I love you endlessly. And all of you, I will stop the recording right now. Cicely always calls me